Welcome to football in 2026, where it seems that every major club wants to sign the same players. They all want Elliot Anderson, they want Adam Wharton, they want Morgan Rogers, they want Marc Guehi, but quite simply, not all these clubs can sign these players. So today I run through a list of budget alternatives to Europe's most wanted players in 2026. Listen up, let's get into it. I'm kicking off this video with Morgan Rogers. Now, I'm not for 1 second suggesting that Morgan Rogers will leave Aston Villa this summer, but after an amazing last few seasons at Aston Villa that saw him named PFA Young Player of the Year last year after 18 goals and assists in the Premier League. He also contributed 6 in the Champions League, helping Villa go on a deep Champions League run. He was named PFA Young Player of the Year. If he was to be sold this summer, which I don't think is particularly likely, given the fact he has over 5 years remaining on his current contract, and given the fact that he would cost at least 80, 90 million pounds, especially potentially after a World Cup where he starts for Thomas Tuchel's England, I don't think he'll be sold this summer. It would take a monster offer to do it, but after a slow start to this season, he's really kicked on in the last few months, and there's so much noise around him, deservedly so, and it feels like every major club would love to have a Morgan Rogers, and I think the perfect budget alternative this summer is RB Leipzig Assan Ouédraogo. Now, I've heard some Bundesliga commentators call him Ouédraogo, I've heard some of them call him Ouédraogo. I'm looking for confirmation on that, but either way, this is an incredibly exciting German talent, still just 19 years old, came through at Schalke, joined RB Leipzig the summer before last, if that makes sense, summer 2024, only plays 48 minutes last season though, but he, prior to injury a few weeks ago, which he has now recovered from, underwent a massive explosion at RB Leipzig. Also worth noting that he rejected the opportunity to join Bayern when he went to RB Leipzig, seemingly prioritising the pathway to the first team and the potential for RB Leipzig to sell you on for a fairly sizable profit within a first few years at the club. And it looks like after his work in the first half of this season prior to injury, which he's now recovered from, as I say, there could be a number of clubs interested in him. This season, he played just 8 minutes in their first 3 games, but he started their next 8 and he absolutely exploded. He got 3 goals and 3 assists in that run before picking up an injury that saw him miss 4 games. And his performance, particularly in that 6-0 win against Augsburg, was something to behold. This is a guy who I think is more of a natural central midfielder than Morgan Rogers, but I think with his skill set, with his ability to dribble in tight spaces, with his ability to let off absolute thunder shots off both feet as well, I think he could be used really effectively as a more dynamic 8/10 going forward. This season, admittedly, in about a third of the minutes of Morgan Rogers, he's at 0.89 expected goals and assists. Morgan Rogers, for context, is at 0.32, although he has played, as I say, 3 times the amount of minutes. Ouédraogo is completing 65% of his dribbles. He chips in defensively too as well, but he's getting 4 shot-creating actions off per game, so that's the shot or the pass directly before the shot, and he's firing off 1.3 shots on target per 90. Lamine Yamal, for context, is at 1.4. There are reports that Chelsea and Man United are looking at him. For me, Man United should be prioritising more of a natural 6 or a more defensive presence. Chelsea, they've got Enzo Fernandez, they've got Castello, but they do need further midfield depth, with Lavia seemingly not getting back to full fitness, Andre Santos still learning his trade. I would be disappointed to see him go to Chelsea, if I'm totally honest, given the fact that I want to see him start week in, week out, going forward over the next few years. But I can't lie, he'd be an amazing pickup for Chelsea, given the fact that this is a player that feels like he's going to absolutely explode over the next few years. But with Enzo Fernandez, with Palmer, do they need Ouédraogo as well? Either way, this guy looks like the perfect Morgan Rogers alternative this summer. Let's move on to Elliot Anderson. Now, this guy is having quite simply a freakish season for a Nottingham Forest side that at the time of recording sits 17th in the Premier League. They've gone through, 3 managers this season. They've been a complete mess. But despite that, Elliot Anderson has been in phenomenal form. He is first in Europe for progressive passes completed. Absolute brilliant stuff. 4th in Europe for passes into the final third, whilst also putting in 4 defensive actions per 90. What do you want from Elliot Anderson? Do you want to play him in a ball-dominant side? Do you want to play him as a 6? Do you want to play him as an 8? Do you want him more as a counter-attacking threat as well? I genuinely think this guy can do it, absolutely all of it, for any side in the world, to be honest. I think his ceiling is pretty much endless. I'm so excited to see where he goes next. Nottingham Forest are going to make a massive profit on the, £35 million they sent to Newcastle a couple of years ago. Newcastle will obviously be gutted that this guy didn't manage to mature at Newcastle and that they had to sell him for PSR reasons. But not everyone's going to be able to sign Elliot Anderson. It does feel like Man City, probably the most likely club to go for him. If you cannot get Elliot Anderson, I think you should have a look at Roma's Manu Kone. Now, Elliot Anderson has developed into more of a 6. That feels like the position that Thomas Tuchel is going to use him in at the World Cup this summer, with Adam Wharton potentially in contention for that role as well. But I think Adam Wharton, as I'll discuss later in this video, much more of a final third player than Elliot Anderson, who is much more comfortable in his own third, turning out of tight spaces, etc. And I think you want a repetition of passes going through Elliot Anderson in a slightly different way to Adam Wharton. I think you want Adam Wharton more connecting midfield and attack, playing in the final third, using his amazing ability to ping balls first time or with very few touches on the ball, wasting very little time. Either way, Manu Kone is much more of a natural 8, then a 6, then Elliot Anderson, I think it's fair to say. But after going through the Toulouse Academy, he joined Borussia Mönchengladbach. He spent 4 seasons there, then goes to Roma on loan with an obligation to buy. Over the last 2 seasons, he's contributed 6 goals and assists. 6 goals and assists, I should say. So this is not a sort of final third player. This is not someone that's going to change your attacking game in terms of pure numbers, but in terms of what he can bring to the party, in terms of progressing play and winning the ball back as well, I think he'd be a really useful addition for a number of sides. He's played all but 7 minutes so far this season for Gasperini's Roma, and he's really stepped up. He ranks 7th in Serie A for progressive passes, and only Lobotka can top his 91% pass completion. There's only one Premier League midfielder, Curtis Jones, who can top his pass completion as well in the entire Premier League as well. So you're looking at a player that is very tidy on the ball, that can chip in, sort of in an attacking sense as well, get the ball into the final third, and can chip in defensively as well. You look at actually his dribbles completed as well. This is a guy that can move through congested zones, break up play, and then press forward as well. There's only one player for Roma that's completed more dribbles so far this season, and that's Solet out on that right-hand side, who's become probably Roma's key player, particularly this season with Dybala not necessarily at his best, struggled with fitness issues, etc. Manu Kone can chip in defensively. He's a brilliant dribbler. In the past at Gladbach, he had a dribble success rate over 60%. And you're looking around and you're thinking, Man United kind of need an all-round midfielder this summer. They probably need 2 all-round midfielders. I think Manu Kone would be a really nice addition for a Man United side. Let's move on to Adam Wharton. Now, last week was not a good week for Crystal Palace fans. Marc Guehi's move to Man City confirmed. Announced that Oliver Glasner was leaving at the end of this season. Jean-Philippe Mateta, there's rumours that, well, it's confirmed that Juventus have inquired about him. Maybe by the time this video goes live, there'll be further news about Jean-Philippe Mateta. The last thing they really want is Adam Wharton to leave the club too. He's just gone past, or is approaching, I should say, 2 years at the club. I think he's been an amazing addition, instantly looked at home at Premier League level. I think he's got the talent and ability to kind of improve the squad of any side in world football and to start for most sides in world football. I really do believe he is that good. And what I love about Adam Wharton is his forward-thinking nature, as I already talked about. 18% of his passes are progressive passes, so 10 yards towards the opponent's goal. He is so forward-thinking. For context, Elliot Anderson, as I already mentioned, has completed the most progressive passes in the entirety of Europe's top 5 leagues. 8% of his are progressive. So Adam Wharton is a much more forward-thinking player than even someone like Elliot Anderson, who is much more of a retainer of possession, high-volume passer. Adam Wharton probably only completes about 40 passes per game, and that's partly down to Oliver Glasner playing a sort of transitional style of play as well, and a more of a counter-attacking style than Elliot Anderson, who worked under Ange so far this season at Nottingham Forest, and he's worked under more managers that are more sort of ball-centric. But Adam Wharton, given the paucity of possession that he gets to deal with, so good at finding those balls into the final third. So I was looking around Europe thinking, if you can't get Adam Wharton, who is someone else that is very, very good at picking those progressive passes? And I settled on Werder Bremen's Romano Schmid. Now, Schmid, the Austrian, who spent a number of years now at Werder Bremen, is much more of a number 10 than Adam Wharton. I will not lie. This is not someone you want to play in central midfield. He's got negligible defensive impact, and I think it would be overrun, like a Bruno Fernandes in central midfield for Man United. But if you are looking for someone to pick out balls into the final third, to add a threat from set pieces, of which he's absolutely amazing at, I think Romano Schmid is definitely someone you should look at as well. He's been capped, I think it's around 40 times by Austria, and his underlying numbers, particularly this season, are really, really impressive. So he's at 0.6 expected goals and assists per 90. His 0.35 expected assists per 90 is joint 20th in Europe. He ranks 8th in Europe for chances created. This is a guy from set plays, from open play as well. He's very comfortable shifting the ball out of his feet, executing very, very well-weighted passes as well. He's 5th for passes into the box in the entirety of Europe so far this season. That's between Lamine Yamal and Enzo Fernandez. If you are looking for someone to make your final third play a little bit cleaner, more efficient, to add a little bit of an element of je ne sais quoi, a little bit of sort of flair to your side, Romano Schmid, I think you could do a lot worse than Romano Schmid this summer. Adam Wharton, I don't think he'll leave Palace, given the situation that I've already mentioned. It's too many players to leave in one window. So if you are looking for someone to add that ball into the final third, to pump it through to your forwards, Romano Schmid of Werder Bremen, remember the name. Speaking of Crystal Palace, I want to talk about Marc Guehi and the alternatives to him. So Marc Guehi has been announced as joining Man City. What a phenomenal move for Man City. They have an injury crisis with Gvardiol and Diaz out. The long-term futures of Stones and Ake are unsure. So to sign a player with 4.5 years of Premier League experience now, who is a banker to start for England at the World Cup. I think he's close to that World Cup sort of bracket. And then you look at what it does for your rivals as well. So Arsenal will be worried about the fact that City have signed 2 win-now signings so far this January as well, in Antoine Semenyo, arguably the league's best winger, or one of the best wingers so far this season, and Marc Guehi, who slots straight into that defence. And even when everyone's fully fit, I think Gvardiol just shifts to left back. You've got Guehi, you've got Diaz in front of Donnarumma. I bet they sign a right back in this summer window as well. They look really, really well set defensively for the years to come as well. You look at the fact that Liverpool probably needed Marc Guehi more than any other side in the Premier League, had the chance to sign him in the summer, didn't offer enough money until far too late. Palace rejected the opportunity to sell in on deadline day. Whether they regret that going forward, that's for them to decide. I don't think so, given how well they've started this season up until recently. Marc Guehi, an amazing servant for the club, proved to be a brilliant signing. And then you also look at the effect it's got on Chelsea as well. He only ever played 2 games for Chelsea, but 4.5 years later, he's joining the most successful English side of the last, 15 years to work under the best manager of his generation, when Chelsea clearly have a deficiency of quality at centre-back as well. So Marc Guehi to Man City, where he's set to be paid a reported £300,000 per week, which Arsenal fans have rightly been sort of pointing out, feels like outside of their potential wage bracket. So Marc Guehi has gone. He's gone. He's off the table. He's gone to City. So one player that I think you should look at if you wanted to sign Marc Guehi of similar quality, or at least potential quality, is Castello Lukeba of RB Leipzig. He's playing his 3rd season with RB Leipzig after joining from Lyon. He's been capped once by France. He's left-footed centre-back. He was a member of France's Olympic squad that won a silver medal. Last year, he actually missed a number of games with injury. I think it was 17. This year, he's played all but 1 game for RB Leipzig, playing alongside Willi Orban at the centre of RB Leipzig's defence. They've got a game in hand, at least as I record this, over Dortmund. They're still in a fight for second place. Bayern Munich running away with it. But Lukeba's underlying numbers suggest that this is a player that could play and excel for pretty much any side in the world. He's completing 89% of his passes this season. For context, Guehi is at 85%, although it is worth noting that Guehi is completing over 1 progressive pass per game more than Lukeba. So it does feel like Lukeba maybe slightly safer in possession than Guehi. As I say, he's left-footed, which would be a thing that's in demand from a lot of Premier League clubs this summer, potentially Chelsea, although they'll have Colwill back by that stage, potentially Liverpool. It's always something. Barcelona definitely want a left-footed centre-back as well for that left side of their defence as well. He's won 92% of his challenges this season. That's the 2nd best record in Europe, behind Villarreal's Juan Foyth. For context, the best record in the Premier League is Murillo, who's on 85%, I believe. So 92% of winning his challenges. When he goes in for a challenge, he comes away with the ball. He's completed over 60% of his dribbles over the last 2 seasons. He's very comfortable running up the pitch, breaking up play, taking a chance in possession. The only downside is his aerial duel success rate has fallen by about 25% this year, from about 69% to around 45%. That's a big shame, but actually this is his first year where it's been below 55%, so it does suggest that if he gets back to his right level, this isn't really an aerial weakness or a player that you shouldn't be too worried about. And I actually think he offers so much on the ball, particularly in terms of short and medium range passing, that it kind of compensates for that anyway. He has a contract until 2029. He's currently valued around 45 million euros. And despite the fact that RB Leipzig asked for massive asking prices for a number of their players, aside from Gavardio and potentially Szoboszlai and Šeško, they generally actually sell at reasonable prices. You know, Simakan didn't go for a massive fee in the end. Neither did Xavi Simons. Upamecano the same as well. I think if a club offered £45 million for Lukeba this summer, £50 million potentially, I think Leipzig would potentially come to the table. They've got such an amazing ability to replace their stars without losing too much ground, consistently qualifying for the Champions League aside from last year. And it does feel like they kind of back themselves to kind of replace any one of their squad members. So Lukeba, 45, 50 million pounds could be gettable for sure. Now, Yan Diomande, if you've been watching this channel over the last few months, I don't feel like a week has gone by without me mentioning him in a video, either a long form video or a shorter form video. You guys know I'm a massive Yan Diomande fan, but despite the fact that Bayern, PSG, Spurs, Man United are supposedly looking at him more likely for a summer move, they're obviously not all going to be able to sign him. So I think a player that they could look at as an alternative is Feyenoord's Anis Hadj Moussa. He's a 23-year-old winger. He was born in France, but he now represents Algeria. He's actually had a little bit of a slower route to the top. You know, he was playing in the Belgian second tier in 22-23, then gets loaned to Vitesse in 23-24. He doesn't actually rip up any trees in his first year in the Eredivisie, but Feyenoord spot his potential. They sign him for 3.5 million euros that summer in 2024, and actually since then, he hasn't really looked back. His first year at Feyenoord sees him score 8 and assist 3 in the Eredivisie. He also scores 3 times in the Champions League, including in that 3-3 draw against Man City. A really nice finish from a tight angle. That's when Man City were really falling apart and getting thrashed by Sporting CP and drawing to Feyenoord, but Anis Hadj Moussa fully took advantage of that. And so far this season, really impressive numbers as well. He's got 5 goals and 3 assists in 15 games. He ranks 3rd in the league for shot creating actions, 3rd for dribbles completed. And whilst Yan Diomande can play on either side, I actually think he's more two-footed than Hadj Moussa. There is something really, really attractive about Anis Hadj Moussa, and I think it is his strength on the ball. He's not the tallest, but he is built. He is someone that you cannot push off the ball very easily. He's got a wand of a left foot, brilliant ability to cut in, create space for himself, whip shots in, get crosses in, etc. I haven't seen so much of him that I know whether he's very good at going on the outside either. But if you are thinking of signing Yan Diomande this summer, as so many clubs are, and not everyone will be able to afford him, I reckon Hadj Moussa, given the fact that Feyenoord only signed him for 3.5 million euros 2 years ago, I think he could be a far, far cheaper alternative. Now, there is a little bit of transfer speculation that this guy could be moving to Marseille, and worryingly, Chelsea. Now, I only say worryingly Chelsea because they've got Estevao in that position. Quenda's arriving this summer. Do they really need to sign another winger when they've clearly got deficiencies at goalkeeper, at centre-back, at striker? I really don't think so. But Chelsea, do what you want to do. If they see him as a profit maker potentially to sell down the line, go for it. That is your club's model. If you want to go for it, go for it. He, I think, could have an impact at Chelsea, both in the short and medium and potentially even in the long term as well. Personally, I'd love to see him not move to Chelsea. I want to see this guy play regular first-team football week in, week out, but I think he's a very good Yan Diomande alternative. Kenan Yildiz has been sensational, and guys, I've said it before on this channel, but I've got to hold my hands up. I was wrong about Kenan Yildiz. In the summer, I talked about the most talented under-21 left wingers in Europe, and I put Jamie Gittins and Malik Fofana ahead of Kenan Yildiz, and that wasn't on a technicality that Kenan Yildiz is more of a 10, even though he is more of a 10 than a wide man, in my humble opinion. It's because I just hadn't really backed enough Yildiz. I hadn't seen enough of this quality that he's now showing on a week-on-week basis for Juventus. I think he's been absolutely brilliant. Juventus, look, they're probably not going to win Serie A this year, but the reason they can get into this top 4 race with Vlahovic and Openda and David struggling so much this year is purely down to Kenan Yildiz. He's been brilliant so far for them. Arsenal are being linked with him. I think it would cost a massive amount of money. Whether that's worth it for an Arsenal side that probably need a more natural left winger rather than a left winger who's more of a 10, like an Eberechi Eze, that is another debate for another time. I'm not sure I'd be fully behind it as a fit for Arsenal, despite the fact I absolutely love the player. So I think a player that they could look at, not necessarily Arsenal, but if you're looking for a Kenan Yildiz sort of type player is Carlos Alvarez of Levante. Now, Levante actually have a couple of players worth looking at as well. Carl Young has had a really good season as well. Looks like an absolute live wire. But Carlos Alvarez, top player, well, by the looks of things, could well be a top player before too long. He's a 22-year-old former Sevilla youngster, and whilst he can play as a 10, he's primarily a right winger, so it's a little bit different to Kenan Yildiz, but there is a similar-esque quality to him in my opinion. Now, this guy is only 5'6". He is an absolute pocket rocket, and there is a similarity in the way he moves, probably because he is of that height and that deficiency against so many other players. He does look a little bit Lionel Messi-esque. I'm not saying he'll ever get to that level, of course. I'm not saying he'll even be the sort of level to lace Lionel Messi's shoes, but I just think there is a similarity in the way they move. And look, last year, joins Levante, plays 2 years in La Liga, in the Segunda Division, I should say. Last year, really steps up, 7 goals and 11 assists in the Segunda Division. This is his first year in a top 5 league. I'm not sure he's ready to move to a Champions League level club, potentially even a Europa League level club. But I want to put this guy on your guys' radar, let's say, and keep him, get him in your mind for the next few years, because I do think this guy could be Premier League ready in a few years as well. So far this season, 3 goals and 1 assist so far in what, half a season's work. Nothing to write home about so far. He did score against Sevilla in a move, in a sort of a moment that he'll no doubt have really treasured, having come through their academy as well. He's already at 0.2 expected assists per 90, which is the same as Jude Bellingham. It's more than Antony, who's getting so much praise for his work at Real Betis. Look, the numbers aren't exceptional just yet. I'm not saying he's Kenan Yildiz in even a year or two's time. And look, he's, what is he, a year older than Kenan Yildiz anyway. I just think that this guy looks really, really exciting from the bits I've seen of him. Remember the name, Carlos Alvarez. Now, to wrap up the video, I'm going to talk about Nico Schlotterbeck. Liverpool will no doubt be after this guy in the summer after missing out on Marc Guehi. I think Barcelona will be looking out for this guy as well. They'd be desperate to get their hands on him as well. He's so talented. Amazing experience now in the Bundesliga for a number of years. He's a great leader. He's a great driver of the ball. He's a great long-range passer. He can carry the ball through the thirds. Looks like a kind of complete centre-back as well. If you want to sign Schlotterbeck and you don't get him though, I would have a look at Udinese's Oumar Solet. He is a 25-year-old, 6'4", right-footed, so is different from Schlotterbeck on that side as well. But what a player. This guy only joined Udinese a year ago from RB Salzburg. And this guy, in terms of his dribbling, guys, so exciting. He has completed the same amount of dribbles this season as Ademola Lookman. This guy is at 1.8 shot creating actions per 90. Watch this guy play, and he dominates in the air. He dominates on the floor as well. But it's the way he carries the ball forward. So brilliant. He is bigger, he is faster, he is stronger than any Serie A forwards he pretty much comes up against. And his highlights reel is just him bursting through midfield. So exciting to watch. Really does feel like a modern centre-back. And I would love this guy to get a Premier League move or a move to one of Europe's top clubs this summer. I think it is on the cards if he continues this rate for Udinese. He would be my Nico Schlotterbeck alternative. So guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. I had a lot of fun finding those names. What did you guys think of my suggestions? Who do you think are better fits? I'm sure there's loads of better fits out there for Kenan Yildiz, for Marc Guehi, etc. Alternatives. Adam Wharton and Romano Schmidt probably felt like the weakest. What did you guys think though? Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'm thoroughly enjoying making content on this channel. If you've watched this and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. I'm fast approaching 12,000 subscribers. I would love to get there in the next couple of weeks. Guys, thank you so much as ever. If you enjoyed the video, like it, subscribe to the channel. Peace and love.